2 weeks ago, we plowed this field with this L3901 and a 2-bottom plow. And the reason we plowed this field was to take that organic matter on the top, flip it over, and also mix some of that clay to give us a better soil profile. But now we're at the second stage of the planting process, the tillage phase. So we've got 2 ways that we can till this field. We can use a disc harrow, which I already have hooked up to the tractor, or we can use a rototiller, which is powered by the PTO. So what we're going to do in today's video is demonstrate the difference. We're going to disc some of this and rototill some of it, just so you can see the difference. Now, I already know that the rototiller is going to do a smoother seed bed, but there's going to be people out there that only have a disc harrow and people that only have a rototiller. So I want to show that there's 2 ways that you can plant a field. This is our 1-acre field at the back of Piney Grove, and we're going to plant this in what's called forage soybeans. We reached out to a company called Coastal Seeds, and they actually provided the forage soybean seeds that we're going to use for this field. And the reason we're using Eagle soybean seed is because Eagle soybeans have 2 very important characteristics that we need here at Piney Grove. Number 1, they're very browse resistant. So once we get this planted and those tender young soybeans are coming up, deer like to come in here and nip them off. And on a conventional soybean, that's the end of that plant. But these Eagle soybeans actually will regenerate and send out new leaves. So they're highly browse resistant. And then the second part of them is that they're Roundup ready. So this field has gotten very weedy over the past few years. We bulldozed this field about 5 years ago, and we've been continually planting cover crop to keep greenery here, but the weeds keep coming up. We want to knock some of them back because eventually we want this to be a field we can plant something more of a cash crop like watermelon or cantaloupe or cucumber in the future. By using these Eagle soybeans, we'll be able to spray directly on the plant and not harm the plant and kill any weeds that grow, and that will knock back the seed bank and reduce the amount of weed seeds here in this field. This is a 6-foot disc harrow, and it's got the notched pans on it as opposed to the pans that are more like a pie plate that don't have the notches. So the notches are a little bit more aggressive, but the other style that don't have the notches actually leave a smoother field. But I've already set up this disc harrow as far as the gangs for aggressiveness. This is an adjustable disc harrow. Gangs were more straight. I put more of an angle on them to throw dirt. They can actually go 2 more steps more aggressive. So if this isn't enough, I can always adjust it more. You may be wondering how big a disc harrow you can pull with your tractor. This is a 39 horsepower tractor, makes about 36 horsepower to the tires, and it pulls a 6-foot disc. So I'm trying to stand so you can see the width of the disc. It's just wider than the tractor. The tractor tire wheels are about 5 foot. The disc is 6 foot. And this disc, in the right soil condition, like real sandy soil where it digs in deep, it will actually slow down this tractor. But in this clay soil, it'll probably ride on top, so we won't have a power issue. You can pull this disc with a 25 horsepower tractor, but the soil conditions will determine how deep you can till with it. Now real quick on the disc, this is actually a friction bearing disc. So you have to grease every one of these bearings here. And those friction bearings are actually metal riding on metal. So the only thing keeping those bearings from wearing out is grease. You can probably disc about 1 acre before the disc will need re-greasing. It's got 4 gangs. Each one of those gangs has 2 bearings. Each one of those bearings have 2 grease fittings. So there's 16 grease fittings on this disc harrow, and it takes about 1 tube of grease to get it fully greased. I set up this disc on level ground, so when I put it down, both the front gangs and the rear gangs were hitting at the same time, but you really never know how aggressive you need to adjust your top link until you get in the field and disc. So I'll make a pass, I'll see how it's disking. If the top link is too short and it leaves the back end of the disc up, then you'll get a V furrow in the center where dirt is kicked out. If it's too much the other way, where the top link is too long and you're pushing down the back side of the disc harrow, then you'll actually create a hump behind you. So ultimately what you want is as flat as possible behind you, so we'll have to adjust that top link as we go. So how do you think it did? I think it did great. I'm looking across here, and I think maybe my gangs could be a little bit more aggressive to throw the dirt, but I am going to come back over this whole field with a tiller with the seed. What I'm noticing is that I'm getting good mixture of the soil. Now there are some clods like this. This is a clay clod, and the tiller will actually break this up. But as I look across here, I don't have that hump in the middle from having the gangs down too low on the back, and I don't have the V cut if the gangs were, say, too low on the front. The settings on the disc are pretty good. Now, this is a 3-speed hydrostatic tractor. and I had it in medium gear, wide open throttle, and it was bogging down a little bit. I just dropped the disc as low as it would go so the weight of the disc would dig in as much as it could, and it was actually bogging down the tractor. So I think for the rest of the field, I'll use low gear. I'd rather have that faster speed to throw the dirt around against the disc pans and break some of these clods up, but I also don't want to bog down a diesel tractor. That's not good for the life of your tractor. To show how the disc is hooked up, there's 3 holes on the back of your tractor to hook your top link to, and I'm actually hooked to the top hole because that's the hole more designed for ground engaging equipment that pulls harder. And then the middle and the lower hole are more for things like mowers that don't pull as hard. Now I know I opened up this video saying this was going to be a comparison between a disc and a tiller, but I'm not sure that I'm going to do that. I think I want to disc the whole field because the disc will do better at chopping up that organic matter and also kind of leveling the field, kind of just like preparing the battlefield for the rototiller. So we're just gonna have to see as I work across this field how I want to till it up. If you've ever converted forest to cropland, you pick up a lot of sticks. And even though we planted this field 5 different years in a row, still some sticks turned up because this year is the first year it was plowed. Guys, disking is just one of those things you can do with a tractor that's just fun. It doesn't require a lot of thinking. And once you get the disc set straight, it's just a matter of going wide open throttle as fast as you can and trying to maintain some sort of straight line. Plowing with a 2-bottom plow, each of those bottoms only does about 12 inches at a time, so you're going across this field 24 inches at a time. It took a long time for me to do an acre, but at 6 foot at a time, I'm really going across here quick. But all in all, it's coming out great. One thing I did want to mention is we would love to stay with a no-till type of practice and keep the moisture in the soil, because every time you crack open the soil with tillage, like a plow or a disc, a lot of moisture escapes. But we don't have a no-till planter. A no-till planter requires a lot bigger tractor, a lot more horsepower to pull it because it's heavy, and no-till planters are like $12,000 or $15,000. So this is the method we have to use to plant out here, but it's looking really good. It's coming together quickly, and I did leave a couple of plowed areas here a few rows over where I can show you the difference between a disc and a tiller, because I got to put the tiller on anyway before I plant. Okay, that 1 acre is all disced up. There's a couple things I wanted to mention before I go put the tiller on about the disc harrow. And number one is speed, right? The disc harrow needs speed to throw the dirt effectively, where a tiller, you can go any speed and it leaves a perfect seed bed. And let me show you what happens at the end of the row as well. Because the tractor can't go into the woods and the disc harrow's behind the tractor, you can't till right up to the edge of a field with a disc harrow. Now I could run from the trees up there towards the camera, but the water comes down here, and I don't want to give the water any pass to come this way. So I want to keep all my tillage going across the grain. So that's another thing about a tiller besides speed, is that you can go right up to the edge, drop the tiller, and go. So this is going to apply to both tillers and disc harrows, and that's that you can't go around in a circle with them because you don't want sideways stress on your bearing. Now on this disc harrow, we have a friction bearing. On the rototiller, we have actual roller bearings, but you want to go in straight line patterns, pick up, turn around, come back, and do all that in a straight line pattern so that you don't put those side-to-side loads on your bearings. Now, if you have a gentle curve, you can do that with both a disc harrow and a tiller, but it's best just to go in straight lines. Okay guys, I'm back with the tiller on the tractor, but you may notice that the field's a little different. I actually threw the box blade on and box bladed over top of those clay areas, but that's going to be in a separate video. You can see we got the tiller on now, but you can also see our nice grill guard here. And Matt Lone over at Lone Performance made that grill guard for us and gave it to us. And we really love it. And we think it not only protects our tractor, but it makes it look really nice. This is the standard 5-foot regular turning tiller. By that I mean it kicks the debris backwards. It doesn't reverse turn and send it towards the tractor. I've got it all set up, PTO shaft, top link, everything ready to go. And we've got these couple areas of plowed ground that weren't disced. So let's see how she does. I went to turn my tractor off to talk to you about tilling, and it went into regen mode. And if you don't know what that is, it's got a diesel particulate filter, and when it senses that that's starting to get clogged, it wants to burn that off. So that's what it's doing now. But we'll take a closer look. I'm going to go ahead and till, since I can't do anything else with the tractor other than let it sit there and burn diesel, but I can till with it. I guess what I can't do is I can't shut it off. So I'm going to go till with it, and then we'll talk about the difference. I left a clean edge here to show the difference between the tiller and the disc. Now this disc land is good enough to plant. There's thousands, millions of acres probably across the world that are planted in disc land, but you can just see how different, how smooth, how more finished, more tilled the land is from the rototiller. Now what I like about it is I'm trying to mix a little bit of sand, a little bit of clay, just the different profiles of the soil here. And on the disc side, there's still a lot of clods. There's a lot of dirt clods that aren't broken up. On the tilled side, most everything is finely ground up and mixed together. And what that'll do is change my soil profile. So I got some light soil here. It's North Florida, so we have a lot of sand. By mixing up all the different types of soil and also the organic matter, you can see some straw and some roots from where we plowed, where the tiller brought it up a little bit. But by mixing all that together, it just makes it a richer soil going forward for the soybeans we're about to plant, and also going forward as we turn this into a crop field. That's the disc area right there. And then way behind me, you can see I've tilled all the way up to the tractor. But that's gonna do it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed the comparison between a disc harrow and a rototiller. But until the next one, y'all take care out there. And remember, life's short, tractor hard. PG out.